This week on Supercars Torque, Dave Reynolds is pregnant, Garry Jacobson says he drives a bus, Will Davison gets 2 new jobs, and we might actually get to see some racing on the weekend. Big exciting news this week. Dave Reynolds and Tahan Fatt, I think her name actually is, they're pregnant. A little Levi or Chili is on the way, and I guess now Tahan's Instagram is going to be flooded with pictures of her being pregnant for the next however many months it takes to have a baby. Will Davison has got himself 2 new jobs this week. He's going to be a commentator or whatever for Channel 10, and I'm not sure on the deal with Channel 10. I think they take the race commentary with Scafie and Crompton, so I assume he'll be a presenter or whatever. Kate Peck and Simon something, I think, were the other people mentioned. I never heard of the other bloke. Kate Peck... Yeah, give me Jess Yates any day over her. And Will Davison is going to round out the commentary team for Channel 10. Interesting that they're signing an extra person to the commentary team when, you know, we're trying to limit travel and cut costs and all that kind of thing. But by the sounds of things, they need someone who knows what they're talking about. As much as I like Will Davison as a driver, he was my outside bet for the championship this year. Sad to see him not there. I definitely think he'd be the leading tick for driver this year if he was still there. All of that. He is not my first choice as a commentator, and he does have a bit of that kind of whingy whiny, it's everyone else's fault kind of attitude to things. Not my choice, but it is a choice. Garry Jacobson has come out and said he wants to drive a bus. Aren't you doing that with that MSR rocket that you're in, Garry? All jokes aside, apparently he drives like the school bus and that in Shepparton. That's his daytime job. He is not a professional driver, and could be counted as a professional driver because he's professionally driving a bus. So anyway, big discussions on Bookface and things like that about pay driver and paid driver and all this kind of stuff. Pretty simply, for those people who don't understand, you probably not the people who are watching these videos, but you never know. People who don't understand follow Supercars or whatever on Facebook. So what we refer to as a pay driver is someone who brings along a big chunk of money and pays to drive the car. And then a paid driver is someone who gets paid to drive the car. So Garry Jacobson, he's a pay driver in that he brings a sponsorship package to the team. It's not coming out of his pocket. It's not family money, etc. But he does come with money. Someone who is a paid driver would be like Scott McLaughlin, Shane Van Gisbergen. Jamie falls into a odd category at the moment because he is a team owner as well. So, jobs for the boys there. I'm not knocking Jamie Winkup saying he's a paid driver or anything. And then in Supercars, you've got guys like, say, Jack Smith, who would be considered as a pay driver because basically, his dad went and bought the license. His dad's providing the budget. Well, his dad's his dad's company is providing the budget. So he's classified as a pay driver. Now, with the professional driver, because one of the articles said that Jacobson, not a pro driver, which means he's not professional, so he's not getting paid to be a race car driver, essentially. He's getting paid to drive a bus, so he's a professional bus driver. So anyway, long way around to making that Because people are like, oh, he's won Super 2, he should be a professional driver. Well, possibly he should be a professional driver. Unfortunately, in this day and age, not everyone gets to be professional. He's doing it on a professional level, but because he's not getting paid for it, he's considered amateur. And correctly or incorrectly, that's the way it is. So technically, Garry Jacobson is an amateur. Jack Smith is an amateur. Although Jack Smith is probably actually, funnily enough, getting paid more than what Garry Jacobson is. Go figure that one out. One person who's definitely professional is Nick Burkett, though. Had to get that in somewhere this week. Now, there's lots of talk of border closures and where can people go and all that kind of thing. If you're like me and living in Victoria, things are changing day by day, and rights are getting taken away more and more. This is not a political discussion. This is talking about supercars. So let's stick to, those issues. People are saying about going to Queensland Raceway. Yes, that's a great idea because the teams are in Queensland and all that kind of junk. Well, technically at the moment, a lot of them aren't because all the transporters have gone to the Northern Territory. Nearly all the transporters, I think. I think a couple might be a little bit behind. Anyway, not worrying about that. People are going to Northern Territory, so we're going there. Everyone who's saying, well, we just go to Queensland Raceway. Unfortunately, Queensland Raceway doesn't have a licence to hold the supercars at the moment because it's not safe. I did see some moronic comments on there about, oh yeah, the grass is a bit long. And something about brown grass and things like that. Oh, it looks a bit dusty there. We're not worried about that. We're worried about safety. Did see some interesting comments about the safety of Queensland Raceway and then saying, oh, well, we go to Adelaide and Surfers Paradise and Newcastle and there's just concrete walls everywhere. Well, on a lot of that, the concrete walls have been designed in a certain way so that the least amount of damage can happen. So like you get tornado at Adelaide. When you think how that was back in 99, I think was the original one, and there was a big chunk of runoff there and cars could spear off and kind of, hit the concrete head on. Whereas now it's designed so that they come around the corner, hit the concrete and then, drag themselves down the track. So the concrete is actually closer to make it safer because you kind of drag along the wall rather than, skid into it and have a big head on or a rear on like Macaulay had down there at turn 9 last year when his brakes failed. So it's designed like that. When you get to Queensland Raceway, if you think back a few years ago where Scott Pye had that brake failure in, I think it was qualifying or the warm-up or something like that. Probably not a warm-up because, not allowed to do things like warm-ups anymore. Where he just went down into what would be turn 4, I think, depending on how you classify all of those circly corner things. Anyway, off the main straight, you go around the big thing and then down the other straight. And his brakes failed and he went ploughing head on into that wall. That's why, because they've got a big run. Essentially, it's a similar thing at Adelaide, whereas you find Adelaide down to turn 9, you've got, your tyre barriers like that, so you can, wiggle through them before you get to concrete wall, or you hit 2 lots of tyre barriers on your way through. At Queensland Raceway, you have your tyre, and they're saying things like, I'm not sure exactly what they're failing for, but, that tyre barrier needs to be bigger or something like that is probably what's coming into the safety kind of aspect of it. Because as we saw with that one with Scott Pye, you go a long way along, a sand trap, and you're still doing a fair rate of knots before you hit that wall. And before anyone says about making a car park out there, you'd be going even faster if it was just a car park. So sometimes we need that gravel there to slow the cars down. That's in my opinion. I'm not for big gravel car parks like all the Formula 1 tracks. So let's assume that nothing's going on in the world and everything's hunky-dory and we're going to go to the Northern Territory. There's going to be no issues and we're going to run 2 races there. Currently not 100% sure on the format for the second weekend. assume it's going to be the same as the first. So currently we have set out qualifying on Saturday, because it was a bit confusing for people last time out at Sydney Motorsport Park. You can only qualify on hard tyres on Saturday. Now, you have the normal 2-part knockout where we knock out, what was it, like 4 cars, and then knock out 4 cars, and then we get one of those top 15 shootouts again. I know we're all happy about that. Obviously, no one at Supercars has been listening to me about, let's do a whole field shootout, or, you know, obviously they have TV time to fill in that, but I'd prefer to see them fill it out with a top everyone shootout, and, you know, everyone gets their time in the sun, because, you know, essentially with this, especially that they have to do on hard tyres now, we're never going to see any of those Team Sydney cars on the TV. So anyway, that's what we've got to put up with. Then we got a 38 lap race, whatever that means, 109 Ks. It's going to be about 45 minutes, pending safety cars, and, you know, time certain around that hour mark. Sunday, we go back to more normal, 2 10-minute qualifying sessions, and then 2 38-lap races. So essentially, the tyre situation is the same as what happened at Sydney 2, where we have 3 hards, 2 softs. So essentially what you're saying is that Saturday, you go and qualify on your hard tyres. Everyone does that. So anyone who qualifies bad on Saturday is just going to try and run one long stint on one set of hard tyres, and that's all they do. And your Lee Holdsworth, if he has a good qualifying session, he's bolting on his 2 sets of softs all in that first race. And then your championship guys, they're probably going to do a bit of a mix, kind of see where they're at. But that also then means Sunday, because you've got 2 sets of soft tyres that you haven't used for qualifying, unless you're Lee Holdsworth, who's used them both in the race to try and get a result. So essentially, you're going to then have 2 qualifying sessions on Sunday where you use 1 set of soft in each, and it kind of borings up qualifying, because essentially everyone is going to be the same. And then you probably see a lot of the drivers, because you don't have the same deg at Northern Territory as what you do at Sydney Motorsport Park. So you're probably going to see everyone doing a split hard and long run on the softs in each of the races on Sunday. Other than those, you know, oddball kind of qualifying ones, you probably will see, you know, the Brad Jones guys. They'll probably throw a soft race into the works there, and obviously like Lee Holdsworth, Jack LeBrock, and that, you guys who have the potential to run up the front, but, you know, they're not going to without a little bit of a helping hand there. I'm a bit in two minds, because yes, you did have to watch the whole telecast at Sydney Motorsport Park to follow what was happening with the tyres the whole way through, so you know who was kind of had what in their arsenal towards the end. But it also meant that it was a little bit mixed up, and there was a little bit of a question there on Saturday whether guys would, you know, go to try and get in the shootout and would try and do the shootout on their soft tyres, or whether guys would try and get in on a hard set and things like that. You know, this just takes away any of that kind of confusion, and unless someone runs, you know, there's softs on Saturday, which I think a lot will probably save them for Sunday for the 2 qualifying sessions, then that kind of just puts everyone onto the same strategy for Sunday as well, and we don't get that kind of mixing up. And as I said as well, you will then, you know, if Lee Holdsworth doesn't qualify in the top 10 on Saturday, he won't use any softs. If he does qualify in the top 10, he's going to bolt on his both sets of softs and go for broke. You know, you can predict it from here what's going to happen, which I'm a little bit disappointed about, because you know, it's a little bit fun when they do different things. But yeah, anyway, I'll keep complaining about that, because it's better than complaining about, you know, having to wear a face mask and not allowed to go anywhere and not allowed to do anything, and this is our life now. So, on that somber note, this nearly brings this episode to a close. I did actually forget to mention that Will Davison's second job is co-driver with Cam Waters at, probably just at Bathurst. They've decided it's going to be too hard to get Alex Premer across, and probably want to put the best co-driver in with the best car of the team. Yep, there, I said it. Cam Waters is now the lead driver there. Probably won't be long before James Courtney is either second or the best driver there. Anyway, so Moffat will be in with LeBrock, and the other combination slips my mind right now. Michael Caruso in with Lee Holdsworth. Potentially, all of those cars, the co-driver could be quicker than the main driver. That's an interesting prospect to think about. So anyway, I'm going to try and do more of those model car review videos. I've had some good feedback from it. If there's any suggestions on some of the models that you would like to see me do, I have some ideas on what the first ones I want to do are. But if you've got any suggestions, leave something down in the comments or supercarstalk@gmail.com. Let's hope there is some racing on the weekend and this video isn't redundant by the time I get to post it up. And until next time, I'll see you later.